You are standing in a casino and you cannot find the door, not because you're drunk, not because it's big, because 17 separate decisions were made about this room before you walked into it, and every one of them was made by someone who has never met you and knows exactly what you will do. The carpet under your feet is loud on purpose. The ceiling is low on purpose. There is no clock on any wall, no window in any direction, and the path in front of you does not turn 90 degrees. It curves gently so that you never once experience the feeling of arriving at a corner and choosing. People will tell you casinos are designed to confuse you. That's the version everybody knows, and it's not wrong. It's just 40 years out of date. Because the man who wrote the rules, and he did write them down, 13 of them, in a 600-page book, spent 15 years studying more than 80 casinos to work out exactly which rooms took the most money. He found his answer. The whole industry copied it, and then somebody built the exact opposite. Open ceilings, sunlight, trees, clear sight lines all the way to the door. Everything the rulebook said would fail. It made more money. So this isn't a story about a room designed to trap you. It's a story about what happened when the trap stopped feeling like one. And it starts, strangely enough, with a man who spent the last years of his life apologizing for what he built. In 1956, an Austrian architect named Victor Gruen opened a building in Edina, Minnesota, called Southdale Center. It was the first fully enclosed, climate-controlled shopping mall in the world, and almost everything you think of as a mall came out of his head. Gruen was not trying to sell you anything. He had fled Vienna in 1938, and he missed it. The squares, the cafes, the idea that a town has a middle where people go simply to be near other people. Suburban America had no middle. So he tried to build one indoors, and his original plans had apartments in them, and offices, and a school, and a medical center. None of that got built. The shops got built. What Gruen had actually invented was a room with no exterior. Once you were inside Southdale, there was no weather, no street, no skyline, nothing to tell you which direction you'd come from or how long you'd been there. He'd removed every reference point a person uses to keep track of themselves, and developers noticed something happening in that room. A shopper would come in for one specific thing, a lamp, a pair of shoes, and somewhere between the door and the escalator, the errand would dissolve. They'd slow down. They'd start looking sideways. They would stop being a person with a plan and become a person with a mood. The industry gave that moment a name. They named it after him. It is called the Gruen transfer, and it is the exact instant your intention stops steering you. Gruen hated it. In a speech in London in 1978, he disowned the entire thing. His words were, "I refuse to pay alimony for those bastard developments." He had built the machine and then spent his last years telling people it was not his child. The casino industry did not have Gruen's problem. Nobody there was conflicted. Bill Friedman ran the Castaways and the Silver Slipper in Las Vegas, and he had a question nobody had answered properly. Why do two casinos on the same street, with the same games and the same odds, make wildly different amounts of money? So he measured. Over roughly 15 years, he studied the gaming floors of more than 80 Nevada casinos, comparing which ones thrived and which ones quietly died. And he wrote the result as a textbook, 636 pages of it, called Designing Casinos to Dominate the Competition. He didn't produce a theory. He produced 13 rules. Rule 4 is the one you've walked through. In Friedman's own words, the maze layout beats long, wide, straight passageways and aisles, not because mazes are fun, because a straight aisle shows you where it ends, and the end of an aisle is a decision point. Curve it, and there is no end to see. You never arrive anywhere. You are only ever part way. The rest follow the same logic, and every one of them is a subtraction. Keep ceilings low because a high ceiling is impressive, and anything impressive competes with the machines. Never let a customer see the whole floor at once. Make sure that in every direction a person looks, there is a machine within reach, so that the answer to "what now?" is always physically closer than the answer to "where's the exit?" And crucially, the decor exists only to highlight the equipment. Nothing on the walls should be worth looking at. That is the casino most people picture. Low, dim, patterned, endless. And Friedman had the numbers to prove those rooms outperformed the pretty ones. For about 40 years, that book was the industry. You've heard the clock thing. No clocks, no windows, so you lose track of time. It's true, and it is much smaller than people think. Losing track of time doesn't make you gamble. It only removes one of the several reasons you might stop. A person who is bored or losing badly or hungry will still get up and leave in a room with no clocks in it. Friedman knew that, which is why his rules aren't really about time at all. They're about attention, and specifically about never giving your attention a place to rest. Think about what a corner does. You walk up to a 90-degree turn, you slow down, and for about half a second you reorient. That half second is the entire enemy. It is a gap in the flow where your own thought can get a word in, where you might notice you're tired, or that you've been here 2 hours, or that you're down $400. Curve the path and the half second never happens. You are always mid-motion. That's what the low ceiling is doing too, and the busy carpet and the machine that's always in arm's reach. None of it is hypnosis. Every single one of them is removing an opportunity for you to interrupt yourself, which means the room's real product isn't confusion, it's continuity. There's an obvious objection here, and it took the industry 4 decades to say it out loud. If the room feels like a trap, people can feel it. Roger Thomas designed for Steve Wynn, and he looked at Friedman's rules and said something close to heresy, that a maze-like casino with no natural light makes people feel trapped and anxious people leave. So he built the opposite: high ceilings, swathed in silk, natural light, water, trees, clear sight lines straight to the door. He arranged the machines with space around them and called it a playground casino floor. Every rule in the book, broken deliberately, and then it got tested properly. A research team ran simulations of casino interiors past 484 gamblers, some rooms built on Friedman's gaming design, some on the playground design, and measured 3 things: how much pleasure people felt, how psychologically restored they felt, and how likely they were to gamble beyond what they'd planned. The playground design won all 3. More pleasure, more of that refreshed feeling, and higher estimates of gambling past their own limit. Read that again, because it is the whole point. The beautiful room, the one with the sunlight and the trees and the clear view of the exit, was the one that made people most likely to overspend. The maze worked by removing your chances to stop. The playground works by making you not want to. And that is a much harder problem because you cannot detect it. You can walk into a Friedman room and feel it working on you. The dimness, the noise, the sense of being somewhere with no edges. Some part of you registers that as pressure, even if you stay. You cannot do that in the second kind of room. A high ceiling and daylight and a plant don't read as manipulation. They read as respect, as somebody having spent money on your comfort. The feeling that room produces is that you are being treated well, and there is no version of your instincts that flags being treated well as a warning. So the defense people think they have, I'd notice, I'd feel it, only works against the version that was already abandoned. And none of this stayed in Las Vegas. Everything Thomas figured out is now in airports, in flagship stores, in the lobby of buildings that have never had a slot machine in them. Openness, light, a clear view of where you're going. It is the standard vocabulary of any space that wants you to stay a while, And it works precisely because it is the vocabulary of good intentions. Gruen's, Mall, and Friedman's floor were both rooms that took something from you. Thomas's room gives you something first. So go back to that casino and the curve in the walkway. The curve is the old idea. It's still there in most rooms, doing its small mechanical job of never letting you reach a corner. But it belongs to a generation of design that assumed the way to keep you was to give you nowhere to stand still. The current answer is better than that. It gives you somewhere lovely to stand still and finds that you stay anyway. Longer, happier, and spending more than you meant to. Victor Gruen spent his last years insisting the thing with his name on it was not what he meant. Nobody in the second half of this story has said anything like that, because there is nothing to apologize for. The room is genuinely nicer. The sunlight is real. The trees are real. You will still walk out with less than you came in with, and at no point will the building have done anything to you that you could point at. That's the part worth carrying out of here. The rooms that work on you hardest are no longer the ones that feel wrong.